This is the Night Wolf howling at you, and today we're going to take a look at the monstrosity that is the Cobra-La Royal Guard, part of the G.I. Joe classified series of figures. And this guy comes with a lot of crap. Alright, crap's not the right word for it, but he is definitely very accessory heavy. And I'm sure a lot of that is to justify the cost of this thing, but in this case, I would say the cost is justified. That being said, let's take a look at the side of the box here. We got some really nice artwork of the Cobra-La guard fighting, although it looks like he's using some kind of pincher there instead of his sword. Then on the other side, we get kind of the same thing, and once again, we get all that little information on the side that means absolutely nothing to most of us. And on the back, we get the product shot where we get to see all of his head sculpts, which is where it gets really kind of creepy when you get right down to it. Oh, that staff is what he's using in the image. But why don't we go ahead and open this sucker up? Just want to say it's really nice that nothing is attached to the cardboard here, so if I decide I wanted to scan it in and get that image, I can do that. I'm kind of thinking that a lot of this design goes more towards the Skybound series than the actual cartoon. And part of the reason why I'm saying that is because both of these head sculpts look to have metal parts to them here and some tubing, which would not fit the cartoon version of these. And I don't have the original figure either, so I can't really compare the heads to that. But I am pretty sure they didn't look quite like this. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, obviously not like that one, because that's a whole different thing. This would be like the closest match to it. But again, we have what looks like inorganic material here for part of this, and that's wrong. And to go along with that wrongness, he's actually got a fairly standard looking pistol, which is asinine because, again, this should not be included with this figure. Let's talk head sculpts really quick. That's demented. Creepy as hell. And I could have nightmares about that face, okay? Then, of course, we have the same head, only without it smiling, basically, and maybe a little bit more battle damaged. So, you know, two different characters, right? And I'm a little ashamed to say this, I did in fact get 2 of these, and I have 2 more on order with Entertainment Earth because, well, at the time it was hard to track them down, to be honest with you. He sold out real fast, which was surprising because, you know, I think you can still buy oh god, I can't remember what the hell his name is now. But the big guy with the bat wings. Nemesis Enforcer or Nemesis Immortal, depending on how you want to go. Man, I cannot believe I forgot that name. Then we have the kind of like, I don't know. This is definitely like a helmeted head, but this helmet has a lot of bony ridges, kind of making me think of a beetle of some sort, but definitely more of a fighting head. And then we have the standard kind of fighting head here, right? So realistically, when all is said and done, I could actually display all 4 heads, which I probably would do. Although, again, room is kind of starting to lack now. Let's go with this basic design here. And put on the... Let's just call it the old toy head. Oh, fudge. Ah, that hurt. So we got, well, let's just put the pistol in his... I like that it's like an organic looking holster. And again, we have an inorganic weapon with him, which doesn't make any effing sense whatsoever. Also, that looks like it's inorganic as well. I don't know if that was originally on the original toy. Because, I mean, otherwise, it still looks really well done for organic material, right? So I had a bit of an issue where I ran out of space while recording this, so I'm going to try to continue from here. And I believe what I was about to do was talk about this guy as the base figure, let's say, because this is the closest to the original toy that he looks. I'm just going to say right now, I don't really care for these two unmasked heads, because I don't see any particular reason why you would actually put those on this guy. Like, if we had multiple citizens of Cobra-La, that would be kind of cool, but I just don't see any need for this. So throw those away. One thing to note, the pauldron here likes to pop off. I noticed that earlier. But if we do the articulation, we can get kind of like rotate the head round. We could go all the way around, but it does mess with the collar here. We can kind of look down a little bit and back up to where it was, but that's about it. The design of the helmet and the collar do kind of minimize the amount of articulation you get in the head. The shoulder pauldrons are just kind of on little ball joints on his shoulder. The cape is tucked inside one of those. Although you can get to the backpack hole. You can also get to the wing holes back here too, but we'll talk about that later. Articulation wise on the arms, we can lift it up and put it back down. We can spin it around. You can probably see here that did lift up the pauldron, however. So that is a bit of an issue. We do have a butterfly joint, and it doesn't have a whole lot of movement to it, unfortunately. We do have a bicep cut, fairly standard with, and there it goes. If that does happen, I've found that the easiest way to deal with this, stick the hole from the cape in there, give it a little bit of tension before plugging it back in place. It will pop out again, and you'll probably have to fix the way the cape lies on his back when you do that. All right. Again, that will probably happen again. We do have a bicep cut. Pretty standard. We have a double jointed elbow here. However, because of the design of the bicep and the arm guard, you can only get it to move that far. The wrists do spin, and they have in and out articulation, and that is the same on both of them. They both have in and out articulation, probably because these guys don't carry rifles. We have a boob cut, so we can spin that around, and there goes the shoulder pauldron again. So once again, we will stick that in there and stick that back in the hole. We have a waist swivel, and it is a ball joint, so you can wobble it a bit in order to get that old G.I. Joe O-ring style movement going on. We have the drop down hips. We can kick forward like that. And we can kick. And apparently we can't kick back really at all. How's that? But we can go out to the sides. This side is hindered by that. The holster. This side, or both sides are actually also hindered by the armor. So you put those back in place. If you really want to, though, you can go ahead and pull the armor in like this, and it's like a little shield for his crotch. Well, I guess his crotch is fully bare still. I guess I would save his nutsack, though, if he's got one. But yeah, we do have the, like I said, it's the thigh cut, so we got a standard thigh cut. We've got the double joint in the knee here. And, you know, again, I think the design kind of keeps it from being all it can be. Oh, there we go. We got one more snap on it. We have the peg in the foot so we can spin it. And, of course, the hinge at the ankle. Now, again, these guys are really nicely detailed. We got a good kind of organic-looking rock kind of formation on him. Bonish as well. But he does come with all these extra pieces right here. First off, we do have the sword thingy that the original toy came from. that will try to get into his hand. Oh, I get... Honest to God, I'm not sure what side of this is supposed to be forward. Although I guess this looks more blade-like right here. But that feels kind of dumb with this part, because that seems like when you swing that, if you swing this like this, you might get yourself with that. So this forward would make more sense so that you don't stab yourself with that long part there. But as I was saying, we have a bunch of extra equipment here. Let's go ahead and change him up. Take the shoulder pauldrons out. That one came out really super easy. Pull his head off. We're also going to pull his hands off because we have different arm guards for him. Go, go, Power Rangers. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Oh my god, I can't hit the high note. So we've got these like spiked arm guards here. Put that in. Try to fit the hand back in place without hurting yourself. There we go. Where's the other one? These things look like they're mostly designed so that you can put them on either way or either side. So that doesn't seem to be an issue. Although getting the fist back in place does seem to be a slight issue. Yeah, the first one went in so easily too. Ah. All right. So I am not going to use the cape again for this because we got the wings instead. And as you can see in the back here, which by the way, here's some of the details in the back, and it looks like he's got a lacy little thong on top of his pants here, doesn't it? I wish I had a stripper pole to put him on. I should build a stripper pole for action figures. Okay. So we'll put the new shoulder pauldrons in place. Like so. And we'll find out if the issue is the hole. Okay, that fit in pretty well. So these ones are designed to leave the wing spans open. But like, look at the wings. The peg for the wings is not very long. I wonder if I got those backwards? Maybe? Let's see. Actually, maybe they probably were backwards, actually. There's still an opening there for the wings. But yeah, now you see more of the bone on the front here. So that's probably correct. And let's try to put the wings in place again. This, I would say, is a bit of an issue. The wings are definitely not... The peg here is definitely not as long as it probably should be. Oh, and that same pauldron just popped off again while I was trying to shift it around. So... Now his neck moved out of place too. Alright, so we got the wings in place on his back and kind of stretched out so that it looks wing-like. And now we have this giant head with lots of bony intrusions that kind of looks like, I don't know, is that like a rhinoceros beetle? Kind of, maybe? And we got that in place. So once again, this head has about the same amount of articulation as the previous one did. Surprisingly, the little horns in the back don't really affect it. But now we know that this side, at least on this figure, it's probably the hole that's a little bit too big on there. So that's kind of an issue. But here we have him in, we'll call it flight mode, which actually looks pretty cool. And I'm kind of assuming... I don't remember seeing these guys, though, in the Skybound comics when I was reading them, but it's been long enough that I would have forgotten anyway. But this has got to be something from the comics, is just what I'm saying. Again, it's unfortunate that the wings kind of Well, I guess in this position they fit fairly decently, but I still want to say that those pegs for the wings should have been longer. We can put them down about this far and have them be even, but that looks stupid. Seriously, that looks stupid. And then I guess if we want to try to fold them all the way back like that. Okay, so that doesn't look too bad, and that almost takes the place of the cape when you get right down to it. So, like I said, that's not too bad of a look for it. However, if you are going to do this guy as the Air Force for Cobra-La, pretty much up like this is the way to go. Now, these shoulder pauldrons are bigger than the previous ones, so we have less up and down. Well, we knew that one was going to pop out anyway because that shoulder sucks. It's not as bad over... Well, that one popped out too. So, yeah, the articulation is limited even more over here, and they pop out easier. Ugh. Yeah. Now, being that this guy was part of that 3-pack from the 80s, we do have a file card for him. The Royal Guard, the Cobra-La team. Bred and surgically enhanced for size, strength, and endurance. The Royal Guards of Cobra-La are responsible for the personal protection of Globulus, supreme ruler of the Hidden Valley, and last descendant of the Serpent Kings. Encased from head to foot in organic insectoid armor, Cobra-La are impervious to any ordnance up to high explosive anti-tank round. Although formidable in battle, the guards tend to be tactfully unimaginative and are relatively useless without close supervision. There was once an attempted coup in Cobra-La around the time when Emperor Hadrian was building his wall. 500 irate noblemen stormed the inner sanctum of Globulus' summer palace and were confronted by just 20 guards. Globulus slept through the entire incident. One guard was slightly wounded. Of the 500 noblemen, there were no survivors. I actually forgot to talk about the extra weapon that we have. It kind of slipped my mind when I was fighting with the figure itself. But as you can see, he's also got a kind of a staff. It's got that same little hook at the end as the sword, but it's got an open end at the other end. So it's kind of like mandibles. And at least you could probably use that to grab onto a female figure easily enough and hold them in place, which is probably what it's meant for. I believe I saw a weapon like that referenced in old D&D books back around the time of 2nd edition as a man catcher. So he got catching himself a man. Anyway, overall, I'll be honest, the figure looks really great. I kind of wish we maybe hadn't got all the accessories though, so we didn't have to have it as a deluxe figure. But I think they did that to kind of justify the size, because this guy is pretty big overall. And we did get a ton of accessories. Although again, I think you can just toss out those 2 heads. But I don't know, maybe you guys like those heads. Let me know if you do and why. Especially the Y part. But I just don't think they fit very well. And especially when you look at the original file card there. Honestly, I kind of thought with the original toy that those weren't actually helmets, but actually they're heads, I guess. It never really occurred to me. Like, to me, they're like genetically altered to be this thing and not actual like people in suits. But I guess they are actually Cobra-La citizens, probably. Or could be, at least in this continuity. But I did get a couple of them so I could display them in both warrior modes. And I think they'll look pretty nice. Although I'm going to have to rearrange my shelves again. I think Cobra-La might actually need its own shelf at this point. But overall, I do like this figure. I think he turned out really well. I do wish deluxe figures were cheaper again, because this is like $43 now. And that's getting to be kind of ridiculous. I've already stopped buying a bunch of Transformers I would have gotten because the prices are too high. I might start that with G.I. Joe. Great example would be that newest like 40th anniversary style figure. It's also deluxe. It's also the $43. And I was just looking at that. I'm like, nah, I don't need this one. But why don't you guys let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this review, please feel free to... I don't know what you should feel free to do to the like button this time with this guy. Like bone the... Oh, that sounds inappropriate. Smash the like button, I guess. And if you want to hear more of my nonsense in the future, you can subscribe. Go ahead and tap on that notification bell if you'd like. I thank you for watching. Peace and love.